Hi everyone, it's Vanessa, aka VMUS. Decided to do the spiral staircase video, and by the way, this is Hemingway. We decided to do the staircase video for everyone because that was definitely something many of you were hoping to figure out how I did it. So what I'm going to do is I will do some video of my putting the elements of it together. There's a few bits of fill-in-the-blank stuff that you can do once you see everything get pulled together for a certain step. And then I'll share with you the end result along with sort of a smaller version of the spiral staircase that I made up, just so it's not something that's as tall, but can easily be put into different parts of your layouts if you just want something that hints to the fact there's a spiral staircase in this corner, or there's a spiral staircase going up to a different room, that type of thing. So I hope you enjoy and take notes. And if you have any questions, please, by all means, you can message me in the comments and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So sit tight and let's get going. All right, so here's the original tower that I shared on the page on Facebook. And overall, it measures about 4 inches in diameter around through this area. And height-wise, you're looking at about 5 inches. So it's a little bit more of a sizable piece. It is nice, though, however, because you can get your miniatures to physically fit onto each of the steps. You could even arrange it where you could do sort of a battle if you wanted to on there as well, because there's plenty of room for more than just 1 or 2 of your miniatures to be on here. So the first thing you're going to want to make sure you have is some serial cardboard or thinner cardboard if you want. And then what I did, I'm not exactly using a compass or whatever. I took just an old toilet paper roll, painted it black because it's going to come in handy later. So you want your toilet paper roll. I then got a jar that measures about 4 inches across. I use this to trace a template, if you will, and then I cut that out of the cardboard. So here's that template right here. And then the other thing I did to make this piece right up here at the top, all I did was, you're going to laugh, all I did was I took my Scotch tape form, traced that, and this turns into your landing with your first step. Again, I painted these 2 pieces black as well, just because it helps if there's any overlap or parts that kind of need to hang out over one edge. It doesn't glaringly state, hey, there's cardboard right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to work with using the round, and you want to cut out 3 rounds this size out of your foam board. So what you do is pretty simple. Just get your foam board, pop it on top, and then trace around it. Pretty simple stuff. In this case, I am using a pencil at this point. Didn't really feel the need to pull out my ballpoint pen quite yet. So I just kind of go across and I'll do my 3. Sometimes it helps to have them a little bit closer to an edge. The other thing that you don't have to worry about as much is these don't need to be perfectly smooth around the edges, because that's what's going to give you that realistic stoneware look or the stone look to the edge of your stairs. So if you take a look at the original again, you can see there's like all these little dips and grooves that start happening, and that's because of how you cut the foam out in the circle. So what I'll do is I'll take, handy dandy X-Acto knife. I kind of actually will just sort of cut it out of the foam board and try and run along a couple of edges so that way there's not as much you have to work around. So you just kind of get it so it goes just towards the edge of a curvature to your circle, and then you can toss the little pieces to the side. They will come in handy later. Again, same thing. I kind of just keep doing this all around until it gets to a more manageable point where I can cut this out a little bit more easily. So really this is going to be your preference as to how deep you want to go and how often you want to do this. I kind of get it so it's, circle in the square mode, and then I'll just take the knife and just work on those edges. And again, you kind of want it to start getting this jagged, buckled look, so that way it looks more like real stone when it comes time to painting those details. So I'm just going to take these corners off of the rest of my circle, And neatness does not count in this case because you do want it to not be perfectly smooth. Otherwise, it has too clean of a look, and you don't get as much of that realistic stone pulled from out in the fields when they were building the stairs effect that you might want to have for these. There we go. So this is the first one cut out, and again, you can kind of see just there's, you know, some jagged edges going on. There's some divots and everything, but that actually is going to look great when the time comes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the other two of these, and then we'll keep going with this. So hang tight, and we'll be back. Okay, so we have the 3 circles cut out of the foam board. For now, just put 2 to the side, and then what you want to do is just peel the paper off both sides of one of them, like so. And what you want to do with this piece now is you want to bevel the edge of one of these, not both, but just pick out one. So again, take the X-Acto and just kind of cut away that harder edge. And what this does, it gives you sort of a smoother, rounded, more organic look to it, and it doesn't create such a hard line with your stairs, so this sort of blends in better with the rest of your terrain, especially if you're doing sort of the cobblestone or the tile work dungeon floor. It just sort of sits nicely on top of it, and then that way it's more of a seamless effect as opposed to, you know, this piece that was just sort of plopped down in the center of everything. So just get your stray bits out of the way. So you've done that, and then I have a cutting board that actually has a little bit of a texture to it. If you don't have that and you just have sort of like, you know, a little bit of a fine grit sandpaper or an emery board, what I'll do is I just kind of quickly go around just to smooth off a little bit more, because you will find there's a few more bits of jagged edges than maybe you might want to have, because what this is going to turn into is your base. And I'll even go around and just smooth a little bit where the beveled edge happened. Again, just to kind of give it more of a, this is where it's supposed to be look, as opposed to the, hey, look, we just kind of plop these stairs right here. All right, so that's pretty much what you want to end up with. You can kind of see how the edge is a little bit more beveled. It's not so squared off and sharp. Then what you want to take is what started out as your template. You want to use the cardboard side, and I will simply just hot glue this down on top. So I just take my glue gun, pretty simple. I do recommend that you make sure you put enough around the edges because you want this to stick. You don't want this pulling up and off, because when you do your black wash later on, it could cause things to kind of pull away a little bit if you haven't done a good enough job of getting enough glue gun glue on there. So just get this on, and what I like to do is just kind of wiggle it just a little bit and see that everything is secure. And you will find you might have to go back and just sort of trim away the extra pieces of cardboard, which is totally fine. Just make sure you do that before it comes time for painting. The next thing you can do with this, if you want to, is get your ballpoint pen, and then take your toilet paper roll and kind of figure out about where you want it to be. I don't put it directly in the middle. What you want to do is offset it a little bit. You don't want it to be so that if you put it in the middle, everything's like very extremely tight when it comes time to building it. So just slightly offset it, and then I found just put a little pressure on it, and you're going to end up with the mark, which kind of gives you your circle to work around. I also recommend that you just sort of groove this in a little bit, because that extra dip in this will help the tube stay in place better. So that kind of gets it set up. It almost looks like an egg, if you will, and here's the yolk, there's the white type of thing. At this point, you can also start doing in sort of a cobblestone look. So what I do is I just kind of start from the center out, and you can vary the sizes, you know, little stones, bigger stones, and this gives it a more organic appearance. You don't have to be exact with this. Not everything has to look exactly like each other. It's not like a finely built castle wall setup here. These are more like ancient stone steps that you're heroes are climbing up. So again, just go around and use that ballpoint pen. I definitely recommend going around a few times because you want to get these nice and deep set in. So again, these grooves, when it comes time to paint, really stand out and it looks a lot more like stonework. So I'm just going to go through and keep plugging away at making sure these are nice and deep and clear. And again, you can see how it's starting to take shape with the different stonework. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're working on this. So I'm going to finish this up. I'll show you the end results for just the landing, if you will, and then I'll show you the next thing as to how we're going to start forming the steps themselves. Okay, so I finished getting the stones in. Again, it's pretty basic, pretty simple. You want it to have that cobblestone look. The last thing I'll do here is I will take just a hard bristle brush. You know, this is stuff you can find at the hardware store. Just basically beat it up and age it. So I'll stipple it a little bit with a brush, and then just to kind of get some neat scraping effects, I will also take the smaller side of this brush, and I'm just going to drag it across in a couple of spots. And you can do the same thing with the larger side if you want to as well. Just do a couple of quick pull across, and then you're going to find when it comes time to do the black wash, you'll have this great texturing look to it. So it has more of an aged look, that ancient stonework that you want to have. So that's the base, and for now you just kind of tuck this away and get it out of the way for yourself. And then I'm going to show you how to make the steps. So you want to grab your next circle. Again, you want to make sure you have 2 of these for the stairs. You may even find you're going to need to make a couple of extra stairs, so I do recommend that you have some spare foam board next to you. Again, this isn't an exact science the way I'm doing it, so basically what you want to do is just start peeling off the paper. Don't peel it off all the way. What you want to do is kind of have it so that it will peel back and only go back halfway. All right, so basically just press the paper down, and as you can see, it's not that perfect circle because you still have some of those more jagged edges, but it's about halfway there, and that's what you want to have with it. So once you get that halfway point, get out your knife again, and then you're just going to basically follow the line that the folded over paper will create, and you just cut it away, and then you can just tuck this piece over to the side. Then you're going to go back to the side that still has that top layer of paper attached, and kind of the same thing, but now you're going to go so you're making quarters out of the circle. So you want to get the fold lined up. Once you have your first half cut, you're going to peel that paper back, and you're only going to bring it again halfway down the edge. So this time you're making quarters. Make a nice little fold there to act as your guide, and once again pull the knife across to cut, and ta-da, you now have quarter pieces. Finally, last step is still with the paper attached, and you have like one little wedge left. You're going to fold that paper over one more time and take this into an 1/8 measurement. So basically you're going to have 8 steps per circle made out for you. So get those to match up on the edge. Just fold that paper so you have a nice straight edge to work off of. Cut it through, and now you have basically as small as you're going to get. So here you go is a start of a stair wedge. What I'll do now is I'll take this lovely little wedge and use it as a guide for the other steps. So I will line this up and just do my cuts this way. And again, you don't have to be exact with these. They don't all have to be the exact same size. There's a little bit of a charm to having them slightly imperfect. Again, it gives it more of that old world, ancient build look to it, which I personally like to see in the scatter and the different types of terrain that we make. So I'm just going to finish off doing this particular one and get all of my quarter pieces cut out. And there you go. So you should end up with a nice count of 8. And then what you're going to do is the same thing, but you're going to use it on your other circle. So get your other circle prepped, and then I'm going to show you how I do the stairs themselves.